Good morning, Jason. Before I ask you about Aston Villa, could we just have another comment on the match against Crystal Palace and how pleased you were with the way your team attacked that game and went on to win so handsomely in the end?
Really pleased with the performance. I think the most important thing about the performance was that we showed consistency and backed up the performance we delivered against Manchester United, and the players certainly went out and did that. So absolutely delighted with the performance.
To play with your usual intensity in what is a 3-game week so soon after Manchester United and after other tough games since coming back, what does that say about the fitness levels of the players, but also their commitment to still delivering top performances, because the energy that you play with is still incredible at this stage of the season?
Yeah, it's what we want to try and do, week in, week out, regardless of whoever we play against. But, I think you have to give credit to, James Bunce, Dan Hodges, the doc and the medical team and sports science team for that as well, because they play a big part in making sure that these lads are able to go out there and deliver them type of performances that's expected and that we want. So full credit to them and the players to be able to go out, as you say, and to repeat that level of intensity that they've shown against Manchester United and Crystal Palace. Huge credit to everybody.
And you've had consistency of performance levels and results, but also of team selection. And to pick the same team for 6 matches running and to win them all is probably quite remarkable. Could you take us into that? Because there's obviously some players who are desperate to get in, but you're not changing a winning team, obviously.
Well, I think, when you are in good form and when you are winning games, it then does become difficult to change the team unless you feel players are not performing within that winning team, which, I don't think anyone can say that, because the players are collectively and individually delivering excellent performances. So, in some senses, the team does pick itself. But we've got a fantastic squad. We've got some good players on the bench, and everybody's played their part this season. And, and everybody's going to need to play their part for the remaining 6 games, and I'm sure they will do. Obviously, sometimes it's easy to get frustrated when you're not playing. But I always think you have to put yourself in the shoes of the player that's playing in front of you, and what would they want and what would you want. And testament and credit to the players. They support each other, they're behind each other, and we're going to need that again for the remaining games.
I think you've touched on it there, but what kind of message would you give about Anthony Gordon, who's such a huge player for you, but since serving the suspension and then coming back from injury has come off the bench twice, hasn't started yet?
Yeah, Anthony's played the game long enough to understand, the team's playing extremely well, and Harvey Barnes and Jacob Murphy, 2 players that are in his position, are playing and performing extremely well. So, as I said, at times like this, as a player, as frustrating as it can be sometimes, you do need to put the shoe on the other foot and go, right, okay, if I was that player performing that way, what would I expect? And you would always say that you would expect to be a good teammate, to support that person, to continue to work hard every single day. So when your moment does come, when you step on that pitch, you're able to go out there and deliver the performances that everybody knows you can. And, testament to all the players, that's what they've been doing so far.
And what do you think awaits you at Villa Park on Saturday? An Aston Villa team that, like you, is chasing those top places. They had an epic Champions League tie the other night, and I'm sure the atmosphere there is always noisy.
Yeah, it's going to be an incredibly tough game. We know that. They've only lost once at home this season, which was right early on against, I think it was Arsenal. So we know what type of challenge we're going to be facing. I think they've won 10 of their last 11 in all competitions. Similar run of form to ourselves at the minute. And obviously they're trying to achieve the same goal as what we are. So we know it's going to be a real tough game. The atmosphere at Villa Park is always a great atmosphere. But 2 teams that are going to go out there and try and win the game, I'm sure.
Thanks, Razor. We've got Andy Sixsmith, PLP.
Morning, Jason. Plenty of calls from the fans online that for you and Eddie, I suppose, collectively to win Manager of the Month. Seriously speaking, though, this level of support and the positivity from around the city for yourself since you've stepped in with Eddie in hospital, how has that made you feel so far?
Do you know, I don't read too much of it. Obviously, you sort of hear, the odd bit, and friends will send me probably the odd thing or two on social media. But I think it's testament to everybody. When the manager's not here, everybody needs to step up, myself included, the players, the remaining, the rest of the staff, and everybody has done that. The love's always been there from the fans for myself, for the manager, and for the team. And I think that is really important. Everybody's behind the football team first and foremost, and for the players to keep going, delivering the level of performances they are, then they're certainly doing themselves proud, but ultimately they're doing everybody connected with the football club proud.
Lots has been made, of course, of Jacob Murphy's form at the moment. How rare a person and a player is Jacob Murphy, would you say?
Jake, he's behind Salah in the assists this season, so I think that probably says everything, and what type of season he's having. And full credit to Jacob. He's been at the football club a long time, and I'm sure if he was a player, we probably signed at the start of the season or in January from Spain, Brazil, Italy, or somewhere else around the world. Everybody will be speaking really, really highly of him and receiving a lot more plaudits than he probably is. But his performances certainly don't surprise myself and the manager and any of the other staff, because he's he works extremely hard on a day-to-day basis. He takes everything in tactically, as you can see from his performances this year. He's been asked to do a number of different roles, and week in, week out, you can rely on him.
Like you say, his stats speak for himself. I mean, we've seen Dan get his England call up. What do you think it would mean for Jacob at this stage in his career as well, at some point perhaps, to get an England call?
I think what Dan Burns' call-up showed probably everybody, not just the players here at this football club, is that it's never too late. And I think the only thing you're ever in control of is your performances and, your attitude on a day-to-day basis. And I think as a player, if you can go out and, deliver the best you can every single day and deliver the best type of performance that you can on a match day, then it's a decision of other people, but you're only in control of yourself and what you deliver. And if Jacob continues to deliver the level of performances that he is currently delivering, then I'm sure it'll be a decision that the England manager will be looking at.
We all know of the atmosphere at St James's Park, how Newcastle feed off that at St James's Park. Do Aston Villa have a similar formula at Villa Park, bearing in mind their atmosphere at times this season?
Yeah, every time we've been to Villa Park, the atmosphere has been very, very good. As you say, there is some similarities to St James's Park. So not only are we facing a real tough opposition, we've got to deal with the crowd as well, as of teams when they come to St James's Park. So we know the level of challenge that's in front of us, but we're in a good moment. We're in good form. We're delivering good performances. And now it's about being consistent and trying to deliver that performance the weekend.
Just finally, last time Newcastle played Aston Villa, we saw the Jason Tindall Wham hoodie. No sign of that this weekend, no?
No, there was a lot of talk about that sort of in the home game. That was something that was pre-arranged before the game. It was a fan that asked me to wear it, and I said if we win the game, then I'll do it for you. But there was nothing else other than that, and I know it got quite a bit of publicity, but you certainly won't be seeing it at Villa Park, that's for sure.
Thanks, Andy. We've got to Damien, then to Ian Mercer, please.
Hi, Jason. Can you just check, have you managed to have any more contact with Eddie since we last spoke to you?
No, there's no fresh update with Eddie since Wednesday's game. I think he's recovering. He's recovering at the minute, and then as soon as there's any more update, the media and the fans will be the first people to know.
Thank you. Eddie's spoken in the past about you as a club being here to compete and not to be liked. Some people see you as the flag bearer for that. Is that fair, or how do you react to that?
Again, it's just do my job the best I possibly can, day in, day out. I don't really take too much notice on what people say or what people think, and I've said that, and that remains to be the case. Certainly, people that don't know me, if they want to talk about me, then that's fine. But all I'm here to do is do the best job I can for this football club, and I'll continue to do that for as long as I'm here.
Thanks, Tim. We'll go to Ian, Charlie Bennett, and then Aaron, please.
Morning, Jason. As you said, the team's virtually picking itself these days. While Aston Villa, they tend to, Unai Emery tends to rotate his squad a little bit more than yourself and Eddie. Does that give him a little tactical edge going into the game, bearing in mind he's got a fair idea who Villa would be facing? You have a less of an idea who Newcastle will be facing.
As you say, we can only prepare the way we prepare day in, day out. You know, obviously, for Aston Villa being in Europe this year and the competitions they've been in, they've played, you know, quite a few more games than ourselves. They've got a fantastic squad, so regardless of whatever team he decides to pick, we know we're going to face a really, really tough challenge. But it's, you know, from our perspective, we have to prepare the way we always prepare. We have to focus on ourselves and the performance that, you know, we want to deliver, and hopefully we can go out there and deliver another performance that, you know, the manager and everybody is proud of.
Thank you. Charlie?
Morning, Jason. Just on Sandro Tonali, it's scary to think he's only 24-year-old. A player in his position might not reach his peak for another 5 years or so. Where do you think his ceiling is as a footballer?
Sorry, what was the last bit?
Where do you think his ceiling is as a footballer?
There's certainly still more to come. I think, you know, when you see Sandro when he first come to the football club, even to where he is now, you know, there's been huge growth in him as a player, and his performances have reflected that. But, you know, with the way we work and the demands we set on the players day in, day out, you know, there's always room for improvement, and there's always opportunities to get better. And, you know, Sandro's been delivering some fantastic performances of recent, especially. And with the type of player and with the type of guy he is, he's a very level-headed guy, very, very consistent in his day-to-day work. And I think when you've got the type of attitude that Sandro's got, then there is no ceiling. I think, you know, arguably he's one of the best midfielders, you know, based on his form currently, you know, in Europe.
Some people may have foolishly written him off when he got his ban, maybe he was going to come back the same player. What sort of work did he do and did you do with him to ensure that he wasn't always going to come back as player?
Yeah, it was an opportunity for Sandro, for ourselves, his coaches, to, you know, to get as much work in Sandro as possible. And testament to him, because, you know, when you're unable to play for so long, when you're not injured, you know, mentally can be very, very difficult. So yeah, you know, I think that's just, you know, credit to himself as a person to be able to, you know, stay focused and to be really, really consistent in his day-to-day work. I think speaks volume of the type of player and character he is. So, you know, we had to do a lot of work with Sandro tactically. You know, he come from a Milan side that played sort of completely different to how we wanted him to play, in a slightly different position. But as you see from the performances he's delivering, he's took all that work on board. He continues to get better, and hopefully, and I'm sure, we'll continue to see a lot more growth from Sandro.
And just finally for me, Jason, do you think the turning point for Newcastle season was when you put Sandro Tonali deep out and switched him out with Bruno in midfield?
I think, you know, when we were speaking and we looked at the individual qualities and strengths of players, we felt, you know, that was the right decision at the time. You never quite know how that's going to go, but I think we're starting to see now that, you know, Sandro in the deeper position and Bruno in the higher position, you're getting the best out of both players. You know, you look at the three midfielders currently, Joe Linton added to that, Joe Linton, Bruno and Sandro, the relationship they've got and the way they're playing together collectively, you know, they're certainly a real force. And as you say, you know, we were pleased with obviously Sandro in the deeper role, but there's still a lot more to come from him.
Thanks, Charlie. We'll go to Aaron, Lee, and then Chris, please. Aaron.
Morning, Jason. Harvey Barnes obviously had to wait a long time for a run in a team like this. How has he been like in the last couple of weeks? Have you seen sort of a change behind the scenes, and how pleased are you that he sort of hit the ground running since coming back into the team?
And again, it's similar to what I've sort of said earlier. I think, you know, testament to all these players that, wasn't starting games and wasn't in the team for a long period. When they come in, they deliver performances, but you can only do that if you've got the right attitude and your work day in, day out is consistent. And mentally you're strong. You sort of deal with the frustrations in the right way. And certainly Harvey Barnes has done that, since he's come into the team. Anthony Gordon, the quality he's got was a big miss. Harvey's come into the team and delivered excellent performances individually, but team performances as well. And, the same to say about Kieran Trippier. He's had a similar season this year where, he wasn't playing. Tino was at right back and Lewis Hall was at left back. And Kieran Trippier had to be patient, but I think since they've both come into the team, they've been exceptional.
And for the likes of Graham Jones and Stephen Purchase and Simon Weatherstone, what has sort of the transition been like for them in the last 2 weeks, or has it been quite smoothless because you're all sort of a close-knit group anyway?
We're a close-knit group. We know what's expected of each other day in, day out, and they're all fantastic staff. And their roles have remained the same. They've obviously had to take a bit of added responsibility as well. But it's not just the coaching staff. It's all the other support staff as well. I spoke earlier about the sports science department and the medical department. Everybody, the nutritionist, everybody plays their part to be able to make sure the players are in the best possible condition they can be in to go out and deliver the level of performances that we want them to deliver. So it's not about myself or the coaching staff. I think it's a real team effort from everybody.
Thanks, Aaron. Lee?
Jason, with Unai Emery, will you shake his hand before the game?
Of course, I've said before, I'll always offer my hand for the opposition manager. Listen, I think when you plan a game, all you want to do is win, and that's how I've always been. Very, very passionate. The only thing that crosses your mind during battle is that you want to come out on top, and it's a frustrating game at times. But I'll certainly hold my hand out, and if the manager wants to shake it, then I'm sure he will.
And this situation that you're in, standing in for Eddie, you couldn't make it up that the first game back is against Aston. The first away game back is against Aston Villa after everything that happened on Boxing Day.
Yeah, and as I said, football's a frustrating game at times. Both sets of players and coaches, etc. But I'm not really thinking about that going into this game. The most important thing is our preparation and and what we deliver on the pitch. It's not about what happens in the technical area or in the tunnel or anywhere like that. It's the most important thing is that the players are prepared, they're focused to be able to go out there and deliver a performance that that everybody's going to be proud of.
Can we just check, is Eddie out of hospital yet?
As I say, there's no further updates on Eddie since Wednesday, and that's how we've left it. When if he wants to talk to me or message, then I'm available anytime, and as soon as there's any new updates, then I'm sure sort of the media team will be the first people to let you guys know.
Cheers.
Thank you, Chris, Dom, and then Gary, please.
Morning, Jason. You mentioned before that most of the staff have continued doing what they've been doing, but some have had to take on additional responsibilities. Before the games, you've still been going out on the pitch and taking the warm-up, which is sort of unusual for the person theoretically leading the side. What additional responsibilities have people taken on, and have you had to bring anyone up from the academy coaching-wise, or anyone to cover anything?
We've not had to bring anyone else up. I think it's important that I'm still there to, the consistency sort of has to be there. All certain roles and responsibilities on a match day, and wouldn't want to sort of give that up, because it's important that, as I say, the most important thing is that we're prepared for the game that's in front of us. And part of my duties and part of my role is to make sure that I'm there for the warm-up, to lead it, and to make sure that the players are in the best possible place they can be in to deliver a performance. The remainder, the rest of the staff, and when I say sort of stepping up, they're continuing to do the great work that they've done, during their time here at the football club. Obviously, my duties change because I'm obviously filling in for the manager and taking on the responsibilities that he would have. But, as the manager would probably tell you, to try and do everything is incredibly difficult, and you need good staff around you to be able to help that, and we've certainly got that.
And on a different thing, we've been asked to ask every manager this. Last night, Ruben Amorim said that he's going to play the kids in the Premier League because he's going to focus on the Europa League. That could have a say in the Champions League race they play Chelsea. How do you feel about that?
Listen, we're not in control of what Manchester United do or what any other team does. Our future lies in our own hands, and what we deliver, we can't rely on any other results. The only focus we can have is what we do and what we deliver on the pitch. And if we deliver the performances we know we can, then we know we can beat anyone, and that's the most important thing.
Thanks, Chris. Dom?
Morning, Jason. Tino Livramento is arguably enjoying his best run of form this season in Lewis Hall's absence. Do you agree with that, and is he making a case that left back is potentially his strongest position?
When we signed Tino, we knew he played both sides. He played on the left a lot for Southampton. So we knew when we were signing him, we knew we were signing a top player that was able to play both right and left. And he's in a great run of form. I think he's shown real good consistency throughout the season, I would say. But again, testament to him, because it's not easy when you've been playing sort of as a right back to then go and deliver top performances as a left back. And I think if you look at his last few performances, arguably you'd probably say that he's one of the best performing left backs in the Premier League. So, great credit to him.
You touched on it just there, but you go back to the 2023 summer transfer window, the signings of Tino Livramento, Lewis Hall, Harvey Barnes, Sandro Tonali probably had a limited impact last season, but this season really showing why you invested the money you did.
Yeah, it is, and we always say, and we've experienced it, so many times throughout our managerial career, that when you sign new players, certainly when you sign young players, everybody when you first sign, they want to come straight into the team and play, and probably they expect to, and probably they think they deserve to. But it's important that you get a lot of work into the players, develop them, so when they do get that opportunity, they take it and they showcase the talent that we know they have. And all of them guys that you spoke about, they've had to be extremely patient. But I think everybody's seeing now what top players they are, and what a great future this football club's got with players like that. And we spoke the other day, Will Asula's the same. Sure, he gets frustrated at times. Louis Miley is a top talent and player, and then players will also get frustrated, but they're going to be huge players for this football club, and they're going to have great futures.
Just finally for me, the other day you suggested Sven Botman ahead of schedule, very close to a return. Could we see him either this weekend or potentially against Ipswich next weekend?
Certainly not this weekend. It's too soon for him this weekend, but as I said, he's ahead of schedule. He's back, he's on the grass now, he's joining in some parts of training. So, maybe next weekend, possibly he could be involved or could be there for selection. But again, that will be assessed over the coming days. But we're certainly really pleased with his progress.